Hi, my name is Gabriel, and welcome to the first video. Technically the second, but it didn't entirely record, so. This is an interesting experience for me, as I'm interpreting what you're going through without you actually physically being here. And I have done this before, and it has been a little while, but now here I am again, and I have many things I wish to say, and it may end up being not a lot of things in the end, just because nothing is destined, except for one thing: that everyone will one day consciously understand that they are all connected. This is the school of being. Welcome. Where you should not behave a certain way, where you should or should not behave a certain way, where you do not have to meet certain qualifications and certain special labels of popular characteristics in order for you to contribute, for you to benefit. And this is a school where I, the teacher, where I hope to bring other teachers on board, will also be known as the students, and vice versa, with the students as the teachers. Although there are certain roles we can take on, or we may have a better understanding of the cause and effect of what goes on the earth and the world, deep down we all really have a unique understanding of it. And it is through our ability to recognize that we are all equally important, and we all are equally holding a key for us to create a project, a unified group, into a success. Now I'm in an apartment complex, and you may hear other voices, but we work with what we have. And so I will begin this lesson with I don't know. I don't know where to start. So many starting places. And here we go. Thank you for being willing to attune to perhaps a different perspective that may assist your journey of your divine plan. So as we start off today, I'll be beginning on helping you understand what is going on and what are the possibilities of our actions as an individual and a collective. And I won't be able to answer all these questions, and I may not even be able to guarantee you the experience of understanding. I may be able to give you flickers. I may be able to give you entire rollovers of the puzzle pieces, but words can never do justice to creating a school that is represented on something that's beyond words. So, I hope this video continues to record. One thing I want to say before I begin is I resonate with the word being as a formulation of service and of God. And that this not as being an ultimate or highest form for which we can understand it, but it is a reality in which we live out intuitively, not based on linear facts and the analytical progression of step-by-step proof of certainty. Many people have grown scared of the word God, with its connotations with religions and philosophies, and the way it's been used to put down or up individuals in society rather than connect individuals. And I hope that this school will be able to purify some of these beliefs behind what God, the divine source, the creator, the higher self, is in a form that we can take in and use to help others realize that it doesn't require anyone to have the same beliefs in order for the sustenance of the civilization. Now, in the future, I plan on having a method whereby, yes, I can be teaching here, but I will also be able to have a technological platform for you to ask me questions or share ideas that perhaps I can expound upon, or that perhaps I can question upon, whether or not what I'm saying or what I could say to benefit others. I think we live in an important time right now where, though people who have a similar intention to help others and understand who we are may not always be around for longer periods of time than we wish, that we can learn to be for ourselves that space from which we have all the desires to be able to arise, to give us the emotions and the thought processes that are backed up by God, a higher self, an energetic field that only wants to do that. And not that it's not by not doing that is a bad thing, but there are lots of temptations and deteriorations as far as trying to get people to look beyond their current belief system. And so basically, it's very important to establish a foundation, which I will be able to give you tools on how you can reinforce your psychology, your personality, and your consciousness with invigorating, divine sustenance that will form a purpose for you in every moment, for you to continue to go beyond what you know, what I know, what anyone knows, and yet still be able to describe part of the beyond in a form which other people can understand, that they too can be creative and help others through many different ways, that it's not dependent on one. And it's very important now for a lot of us to understand that there are many ways out there that are trying to, again, deter our way from locking into a unified cooperation with other people's hearts, other people's divine selves, where they can live in a harmony that shows each other that diversity is not something to look down upon, even if it's fear. For the God in us will consume it all by our willingness to share and understand this God in us. And so it may sound like I'm building a religion, and I would like to suggest to you that religion is a word that binds people to whatever thought system they have. Materialism being as a religion, where people do not accept, think, or even consider that anything besides sex, drugs, movies, and that white picket fence, house, car, and kids will be able to make them happy. This is a bad sitting position for me. Oh well. My dear friends, those of you who are continuing to watch this video right now are probably aligning to some of what I am bringing forth in my everyday life. Yet it will not be able to be fully understood, as with I to you. And on a consistent basis, I am always trying to find ways that I can assist others while knowing that perfect balance, that I do not have to, that everyone's responsible for themselves, but we can also be able to respond to anyone, whereby we can give them an opportunity, not to awaken them, but to give them opportunity if they want to awaken. Subtle differences that can change our lives, I believe, into something that is much more accepting towards the conditions we live in the world. And we will continue to feel blockages and hardships and challenges towards ourselves and others and corporations and governments and leaders and perhaps the few individuals on this planet. until we send unconditional love, that every individual does have the right to do what they wish for them to learn the eternal lesson. That what you do will be done back unto you. And the school will say a lot of things. And one thing it will say is that we have a long time to learn these lessons. But the longer we wait, the harder it is. And harder, I mean, is an experience where the soul, your emotions, your mind, your identity, your physical body will go through a circumstance that is very, what we call, threatening to the current energy level. Calling, it's basically a calling, this circumstance, to make a revolutionary leap up in consciousness, using all that force of which some individuals have hated and resented and killed and waged mental and conversational intellectual warfare upon each other for many years and beyond this life, I can tell you, my dear friends. And these momentums, these continuous choices will actually formulate a very thick circumstance where if the individual does not truly turn the other way, using a similar momentum as a counterbalance of great force towards the way of serving others, then they'll go through a circumstance that is very much, it's rare, but it does happen. And these details I'll get more into as we go along. And I recommended earlier about tools that I could share with you to assist you in your journey. Such tools will only be the words and the spirit inside the words that I give you through these videos. In the future, or perhaps even now as I'm speaking, that this video is uploaded in the future, there may already be other tools. So, nevertheless, I'm just going to continue to do the best I can and more than what I know, just because I know I can do that, as I identify myself as always beyond what I think I know. Therefore, I can take in that which is beyond and form a new perception that is able to be of greater service to the entire planetary energetic field, which we all have the power to do. Well, so as a beginning video, I would like to share a bit more about what is going on and what we can do about it in a very short amount of time. As we can see in the world around us, many people have adapted to their environment, seeing that it is normal, that it is okay, and perhaps that it is even for the benefit of others to live where we do not question and we do not consider that we have something that can help others grow. This is the pandemic, you can say, that has been currently influencing this world for beyond what history tells us. Some of you may already know about this, some of you may not. But what I will say here is that right now, many pillars of society as you may know, are not really working in conjunction to serve one another. And they're actually deteriorating all parts of society because of their unwillingness to look beyond what they know as service. Whether it be a product, whether it be a teaching, whether it be anything. And that willingness to go beyond it is not fundamentally there. Evolution is determined by revolution. Peaceful. That goes into a creative characteristic I would say we all naturally have deep down, that wants to just exuberate the atmosphere in which we live with the finest music, teachings, and you can say environments for material welfare that make life joyous to even be around people. Not that the material things just make you happy, but it's the people there that also make you happy. And it's not the sense that we need people outside of us to make us happy. It's the sense that it's others that formulate a key to assist ourselves to see that we are more. Our happiness is more than when it's just from our individual selves. And that's what we're all seeking deep down. And what we can do about this is, if depending on where we are in our life, in our circumstances, in our energetic vibration, if you will. Vibration, I mean everything is vibrating, no matter how inanimate it seems. Science has proven. Down to the molecular level, there is always a vibration between the cells, between the atoms and the molecules, constantly reforming and shifting in accordance to what we call the mind. But you see, we have two minds that can be served as one when we use them in tandem to help ourselves understand that we are powerful beings that create our world, and with more people individually, collectively working in tandem to project a world that is different and more and creative, that will outwardly manifest itself in a vibration. And what I was saying earlier is that depending on where you are, you may need to undergo certain studies and certain actions for you to really understand why you're going through what you're going through. And some of us may not need to understand so much, but we just need to partake in some sort of service that is intended to help others. And both can serve as a way to transform some of these obstacles that we have subconsciously or consciously created to make our life a living hell or a living love. And so what I have for you today is a jump into the unknown. For I know not where exactly this will be taken, as far as my words in this video. But you can rest assured that there will be certain bits of information that can be used and practiced for you to understand the experience or effect from which it gives, that I am telling you is something that is naturally defined. If you really want this world to be a better place, that doesn't necessarily rely on physical actions and physical protesting. There are people for that, but the time has to come precisely at that point where individuals behind the anti-protests, or whatever you want to say, the power elite, the bankers, will have to make a shift in consciousness before any type of peaceful protest can really make a dramatic shift. But peaceful protest has a lot of power, and I'm not going to get into it because it's not my specialty, but in numbers gathered together, there can be formulations of massive energetic force fields projected onto certain individuals for them to understand that if they go against 100,000 people or 1 million people, they'll have that number multiplied upon them in their soul, I guess you could say, in their inward parts, that will cause, through their 4 levels of being, which is your physical, your emotional, your mental, and your identity parts, to go through great cataclysm. You feel like your will is being taken from you if you have lived a life of corruption and greed. And precisely 1 million or 100,000 people rallying and projecting out their consciousness of wanting you to serve the people, you will receive a judgment whereby your decision is not wrong or right to put you above or down other people. It will just cause an experience for you to understand, what does your worldview and perception of yourself truly create? Connection to all people, or disconnection and separation, division, and sometimes it involves conquering and death, which in itself all these things create. And so what we can do is understand ourselves. We can understand what causes us to do certain things, and precisely some of the information through this school, this movement, I will share with you different ways of how we can go about healing and a service that may be fit for you in your life to take that ultimate stand and say, I will not live for the crowd anymore, but I will live for the all. And that can be misinterpreted as selfish, not living for the crowd. But I wish to just bring forth new definitions and perspectives here that may not be termed as normal. Beloved friends, I'm speaking to you at a time when there will be many critical, dynamic, influential changes that affect billions of people on this planet. And it will be precisely most confidently that in this century the great shift will happen. And I say these words just because if you follow the past century, there have been succeeding events to really allow greater understanding of what the world is and who we are in relationship to each other through science, religion, education. Religion has played a very, science and religion have played a very difficult part, but most of the awareness over the past century has been indoctrinated to show how disconnected we can be. And we're coming at a critical juncture where the great shift will happen in one of two ways: easier or harder. Rejoice and be joyous that it will happen, and perhaps it will be after this century. But there is a coming initiation that everyone is beginning to face, that if they really truly know themselves, they will understand a natural humanity that wants to help others, that loves others, that cares for others, that wants to talk to others, that wants to reach out and understand others, and precisely give them that pearl that may set them free from which this world has felt otherwise. But in the end, we'll all see that that was truly our decision, based on many complexes inside of us and outside of us. But in the end, it doesn't matter if it was inside or outside, it just was, and it will not be anymore, as it existed in a totally new type of living, breathing livelihood. This sounds very vague, I understand this, but beneath the words, inside of the intention here, we all have a very big opportunity that is not necessarily responsible for what happens, per se, but it may be said that we may all have the ability to respond in a way where there is that critical tipping point where 10% of the population will be able to be very much in a state of equilibrium, showing, proving, and radiating the rays of the sun. And I use the sun as a symbol for illumination of light where there may be seeming darkness. And if 10% and a small group of that 10% really enforce, not to force, but to gather a similar intention, to bring forth a revolution that is based on peaceful freedom, on the word innovation springing from a supernova inside themselves, that is precisely upon taking actions, questioning the unquestionable, and thinking that which has not been thought, all based and rooted from a river that flows into our heart, that ties us all to humanity on a quantum level, on a level that is in a parallel dimension that understands that there are perhaps other forms of life working with us. We'll get into this, but there are many forms of energy that our five senses cannot pick up. So science will later come out with the technology to be able to read these vibrations, but right now, only certain things have been picked up where we can only read certain spectrums. Understanding that there are colors that we cannot see. There are sounds that we cannot hear, that come from a certain source that may not always be known until we understand our connection to this source. And so you're probably thinking, my projection onto you, which is a reflection of what's going on in me, that what the hell kind of school is this? How the hell is it going to help children? How the hell is it going to help those elderly who have no idea what you're talking about? How the hell is it going to reach those young kids who only like drugs and sex and music and movies and that kind of lifestyle? If it feels good, do it culture. My dear friends, this school will not be about reaching others and gathering numbers and bringing forth a supreme status. It will be simply by being us, which is in itself an opportunity for others to understand more of who they could be in their own unique way that has a similar intention to understand that we are all connected. Let that be known in your heart. Let it ring freedom and free throughout all the hills, mountains, valleys, and ocean sides. To the prairies. I'm not going to get into that. Yeah, dear ones. This is the scenario we have. And what more as I have to say to you as a tool for you to take in your life and be able to understand that not necessarily every teaching will help you understand, but there are certain formulations of music and spoken words to reveal through our daily life that we can counterbalance the suppression, depression, and some other word that makes 3 times much more sound good, you know what I'm saying. And precisely it is orchestral music. Now there are all sorts of cultures around the world, which I think is important for people to really embed into their beings, but orchestral music. There are different genres, and I think there are some that are more uplifting. Some has been known that I have recently discovered in this modern day as epic and emotional, which can be helpful. Another is part of the Baroque era, holding a very very unique key to the music we hear today and the classical music today, which I am not putting down as it cannot help you. I'm just expressing my unique view of how I've experienced some of what has been able to help me develop my spiritual faculties that can be used in the practical world, where it can become real.